I love
So,
your kitchen.
oh, it's tiny and it's the cleanest spot in the house. So
It's
I'm
so
like,
beautiful.
let's just face everything that way.
Let's make it look like we're about to have a cooking show right now.
Right, right. I don't cook. Like, that's not me. Somebody else got to figure out this food
Yeah,
business.
I don't either. I work. I make the money. I bring home the money.
Right. That's, yeah.
So
So
yeah.
somebody else can do the rest of this. Yes.
Look,
So tell me real quick. So, okay, I know you're the director. Let me see, I wrote it down. Of the Utah Pacific Islander, why
civic
did I,
engagement.
Civic Engagement Coalition. How did you end up becoming the director?
I ran for office back in 2014. I ran for city council in Cottonwood Heights when I lived out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I ran for city council is because, my family was being harassed by the police. And I was like, damn, like we're not really doing, I started going crazy. Like, am I really screwing up that bad in my neighborhood? And it wasn't,
Yeah,
I mean, we had some wild kids, but we kept to our own and we stayed in our own yard, our own
right.
house. And if they
Mm-hmm.
were being noisy, like we always try to make sure we control our house. But
Yeah.
they were coming over for like, oh, we had somebody called 911 and hung up the phone. I'm like, that's some bullshit because
We don't
first of
know
all,
the number to 911.
we don't know the 911 number, okay? That number's not allowed in this house. Like stupid stuff like that. Oh, we
Yeah.
got a call from for a noise complaint. I'm like, and they'd come over and the house we used to live in was right on 1300 East, and it was and right in the intersection of Fort Union and 13th East, and it was like
Okay.
so busy and noisy.
Yes.
And they would come over and it'd be like raining outside, cars like going back and forth. I'm like, look at the clock, it's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, somebody calls you
Oh,
for a
so
noise
noise complaint.
complaint. Like who? What the? Oh, we can't say. I'm just like, ain't you got nothing better to do? They went through my house,
Yeah.
girl, without a warrant. They went through my whole house. I think they were expecting us to have like drugs and my kids. And it was like a hop skip from Maverick, and my kids would be walking to Maverick because I have 3 sons.
I was gonna say
They would
it's
get
right by the
pulled over.
Maverick station, huh?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would walk over there and they would get pulled over, be like, hey, are you part of the TCG? Like, we're not
Because
gangbangers. We're not gangbangers. We don't gangbang like that.
girl, this is yellow. This is
Yeah. So
yellow.
I'm
There's a
saying,
lot of red in this. There's no
yeah,
blue.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Come on now.
Right.
And then so that's what drove me to like run for office, because one of my friends who used to be a cop said, you can't do a damn thing. And I said, why? And they said, you have to be either a city council person, a mayor, or a city manager if you want to make those kind of decisions. So I was like,
Oh.
well, I'm gonna run for office. You know
Yeah.
what I
Well,
mean?
here we go.
Yeah. And I didn't know a damn thing about running for office. Anyhow,
Hmm.
after running for office, I lost. It was my first time. I didn't have really no help. I had one person that was helping me part-time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it opened up a lot of doors for me, and I realized we didn't have an organization that was focused on civic engagement. We had so many nonprofit organizations all focused on health disparities, and
Yes.
they had a lot of funding for that, but nobody was focused on policy work and getting people out to vote, and the importance of, using your voice to, put in place, leaders
Make
that
changes. Yeah.
girl make changes. And UPASEC had been around for a while,
Hmm.
but every time they would get, it would be up and running, like everyone would forget to check their egos at the door. So it died like twice.
Let me ask. This is kind of a sensitive question, but
Oh,
was the council there? The what did you call it? Unit. I wrote it down too, and I still didn't say it right. Unis.
UPASEC,
Yeah.
UPASEC. Everyone's like UPASEC. I'm like UPASEC because it's too
UPSEC.
long. Yeah,
Right.
UPASEC.
UPSEC.
Yeah, so I just call it everyone. I started calling UPASEC because that's a whole mouthful.
It
What
is.
were you saying about it though?
But was it mostly our people on that council?
Oh yeah, it's just all Pacific Islanders, and it
Okay.
was a
Yeah.
bunch of older people who were
So
holding on to their labels and their titles and their.
right, and like I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but that it's very cultural to just not be able
Oh
to
yeah,
let go of any of that power.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
so people were, they weren't checking their egos at the door, and so the coalition
I
died
mean,
several times.
there's been Flag Day for how many years? Okay, just
I'm
yes.
like, and so I remember I forgot who it was. It was somebody, one of the OG members in the community. I remember that wanted to meet up again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, holy crap, I'm gonna attend this, you know.
Right.
But nothing was really moving forward, and I had a lot of ideas, you know.
Right.
And so I started holding the meetings regularly and just inviting anyone who was interested in participating and making this a thing, you know.
Yeah.
And when we decided we wanted to turn this into an actual 501c3, like, you know, like we started talking about
Right.
plans of getting funding and stuff like that, everyone voted me in to be the executive director. So, you know, the first
Nice.
they voted me in to be chair, and then we became a 501c3, and then I became the executive director. So,
Nice. How long
uh,
have you been the director?
since 2006, 15, 16.
Oh man, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And I mean,
Ah,
right now, I mean, on paper, we look really great, but you know, anyone who knows what it's like to run a nonprofit
nonprofit.
organization, yeah,
Hmm.
is, you know, when you talk about volunteers, like you go through a period of feast or famine, you know,
Right.
you
Right.
get people who come in gung ho, ready to go. And then, you know, working for Sierra Club for like the largest environmental organization in the country,
Hmm.
has taught me a lot of things, because I did not know how to run. You know, I did not know, you know, the importance of onboarding volunteers or how to keep them motivated, or, you know, the importance of making sure that they always have something to do, you know, and building, you know, having, you know, continual nonstop community dialogue, and allowing
Right.
for community members to just, you know, let stuff, you know, don't have an agenda. Like, let stuff just emerge naturally, you know what I mean?
Got it. Got it.
And then from that you can start building out, like, you know,
Initiatives that you need to.
initiatives,
Yeah.
projects, you know,
Yeah.
events. Like, if you just have those natural conversations,
Hmm.
and it's not forced, and you just let the members come in instead of trying to dictate and lead. I mean, that's how you lead, is you just kind of open the floor.
Yeah, and you let them bring up what they're concerned about,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
resolve those
Yeah.
those issues. That makes sense.
It does. So we have our coalition, which is focused on educating, but
Hmm.
where we do the whole where we have the whole community emergence type thing, we've created a coalition off to the side. We have no name for it, but we have, like, right now, as of now, we have like 4, 5 members.
Hmm.
We have no name, but right off the bat, we created a Pacifica community writing circle, which,
Nice.
and one of the ladies has started a, trauma informed, like a event, you know.
Yeah.
So that's hers. We're still waiting for her to kick off her first one. Somebody became part of the Glendale Community Council. And, you know, we just, you know, shit just happens, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And it happens naturally and authentically, you know. So
And that's good. That's good because that also helps to keep driving your
yeah,
purpose. Yeah.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
does, and I absolutely love it. So,
Do you feel like you have a lot of representation from all the islands?
right now in our small little coalition, it's only Tongans that are showing up. But that's not because we haven't put the invitation out there, right? We've put the invitation
Listen,
out.
it's our own fault if we don't come. I mean, really, it is. It is. You can
And
lead a
yeah,
horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that any project that I'm involved in, I do everything in my power to make sure that it's inclusive work.
Yes.
So, like, right now, we're in the middle of trying to make sure that we get an accurate census count. You know.
Yes. Yes.
So, are we on now? Are we, like,
We
interviewing?
are. We have
Oh, wow.
been. I got the part where we ironed our hair and everything. No.
I'm like, please don't cut that part out.
Yo, we could do that. We could do that. Bribes.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah,
No.
right. No, please do. But I'm like, please cut that out. Um,
Well, so talk to me then real quick before we get over to the census. What is the
yeah, yeah.
Sierra Club? Tell me about that real quick.
Sierra Club is the largest environmental organization in the country, probably in the world, and
Hmm.
their primary focus is on just environmental anything, right?
Hmm.
Clean air, shutting down coal plants, clean water, making, air, fighting air pollution. And they're really
Okay.
policy, they're everything. They're all, they're up at the Hill, both federal and states,
Mhm.
lobbying against and for specific environmental policies. And then at the same time, they have organizers like myself who are on the ground mobilizing people to help push these policies and reach out to legislators, and creating opportunity. Like, just there's so many layers to being an organizer. And you're out there helping creating. You're trying to create leaders, build your base, build partnerships. Make sure that you're not um, practicing a culture of extracting, but you're actually building an alliance. Because
Wow.
yeah, we don't want to be like, oh, can you do this for me? It's
Can
almost
give,
like,
give, give.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We want to make sure that we're not doing that. We're not in a position where we're just taking, taking, taking. That the only time you hear from us is when we're asking you for money and asking you for volunteering. You know what I mean? So we have,
That's a
yeah,
big deal.
it's a
Like, to
huge
even
deal.
have that at the front of your mind, that this is not going to be a culture of extraction. Do you know that is a problem across
Oh, oh,
everything? You
everything,
know, people
everything.
feel very entitled. They feel like you should be loyal to them for whatever
Yep,
reason,
yep.
and they expect you to give without realizing they're not adding any value to your life.
Exactly. And so we always make sure that we show up
Hmm.
in different community spaces,
Okay.
and make sure that we're providing, whatever we can, within our power to provide, whether it's volunteering, but, helping to pull together a program. If we have funding that's available, we give funding. Like, we want to make sure that we are true allies and that we're not just extracting, and so,
Right.
and that to me is huge. That's important because, coming
That
from an
is.
organization like, first of all, we're already operating from a space of scarcity. And then
Hmm.
and then you have, people, big organizations get paid a lot of funding to come into our communities and do work. And then they come and they partner up with us, and then we do it for them
For
for free,
free.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And so now I'm getting better at, if people ask me for stuff like that and I know they have funding, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you have
Pony
funding.
up.
So
Pony
yeah,
up.
pony
Yeah.
up, pony up. And
For
so
sure.
we've been really good about that, as far as, like, just doing our very damnedest to make sure that we are true allies and that we show up and that
Hmm.
we operate from the Hermes principles. And I don't know if you've heard of the Hermes principle, but
I haven't.
it's kind of like the organizer's creed. There's like
Hmm.
several. I think there's like seven, things that we adhere to as organizers. And it basically just says, I have to, I'll pull it up here in a minute, but, it just makes sure that we're making sure, like I said earlier. So, like, number one would be being inclusive.
Right.
Number two would be an emphasis on a bottom up organizing. Number three is letting people speak for themselves.
Oh,
Number
that's
four is like,
big.
yeah. Number four is like work together in solidarity and mutuality. And then number five, build just relationships among ourselves. And then number six is the commitment to self-transformation. So those are the principles that
Can
that guide the work that we do.
Can you imagine what had to happen in order for those principles to be
Oh
established?
yeah.
Like,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
yeah, I'm glad those are
Yes.
in place. Those sound
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
And I'm
those
glad
are
we're
great.
recording this so I can go back and just write that all back down.
Yeah, it's JEMEZ, Hermes Principles for Democratic Organizing.
Oh.
And Sierra Club has had a history. Like, when they first, I mean, at the very beginning of
Mhm.
their history, it was like really run. It was a predominantly white organization run by mostly white men. And to look at it now is completely, they've been really diligent and in their work efforts to make sure that they're diverse. I
Oh,
remember,
nice.
like, yeah, when I got hired on they sent me to DC for training.
Mhm.
When I first walked in, like, the receptionist was a young black man. I'm like, am I in
Hey,
the right place?
I know.
Sierra Club.
Wait a minute. I'm just gonna walk back
Yeah.
out and walk back in. Do a
Yeah,
quick
and
check.
then
Yeah.
exactly, and then the class was so diverse. There was, like, black folks, Latino, Hispanic folks. I
Hmm.
was the only Pacific Islander. We had Asians up in there,
Yeah.
like, but damn, it was diverse. It was diverse in ethnicity, diverse in, we had LGBTQ, age. I mean,
Yeah.
abilities. it was exactly how I imagine I wish our world could be like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all working towards a
Everybody
common
is
cause.
represented.
Yeah, that everyone's represented, that we
Everyone has a
all,
voice in there. Yeah.
everyone has a voice in this. We all want a better world. And it was just, it was so freaking cool. I was sitting next to this older Black woman. Her name is Jocelyn. She lives out in, she's now a manager, an organizing manager, and she lives out in Cleveland. Well, she would slap me if I didn't know this. Anyways, we sat next to each other in our training and we hit it off. And we are just the greatest of friends. And I absolutely love her. And she has so much experience. She's much older, but she has a lot of experience in organizing. And so anytime I have any issues with, you know, like certain spaces that I find myself in that I'm having a difficult time, you know, having people listen and really acknowledge my voice, I call her up.
Or touch your hair.
Yeah. Jocelyn! She's like, girl.
Right, right.
But she's the one that she, you know, there was a woman over at the DC office,
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful Black woman with long dreads, you know, and she lives in DC and she's from DC. And she, you know, I had been to DC already like several times. And at first it was so exciting because I was like, yeah, I've never been to DC. I can go check out all the, you know, do the touristy thing.
Yeah.
But then it became the same damn thing. Like every time I went to DC, I was like, so when I found
how
out,
many times can you really go to
yeah,
Disneyland, right?
yeah, exactly. So when I went there for my training, I was like, DC again. So this lady, Leslie is her name, and an beautiful older woman, long dreads, Black woman, and very smart. She was like, I think one of their attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, hey, you know, do you guys want to go out to lunch and dinner and go check out, you know, the real DC? And she, man, that was the first time I had hella fun like, I got to see real DC,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It was popping. The sidewalks were buzzing with life. There was
nice.
Yeah, it was, the first place we went to was a restaurant called Bus Boys and Poets. Bus Boys and Poets. And they were, it served food. And one side was a restaurant. The other side was a library that sold like social justice on books. I'm like, yes. So I bought me some books. Where else did we go? We went to a club called Marvin, where Marvin Gaye used to go and perform.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended at Twisted, was a jazz restaurant.
Can I get you to hold for just 1 second?
Yeah.
I just realized my doorbell's ringing. Hang on.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you went to DC. You had a great time with Leslie.
Great time with Jocelyn. It was
Jocelyn.
fun, but yeah.
Wait, but Leslie was in there. She's the one who took you around.
Yeah, so Jocelyn is the manager over in Cleveland. But when we went there, we had presenters. One of the presenters was Leslie, and she was actually doing like the land acknowledgement, talking about DC and all that.
Nice.
And I didn't realize that Leslie and Jocelyn were like friends already. So she offered to take us out. She offered to take us out to lunch, and we went and ate. And that was the first time I had ever eaten at and then we went some other restaurant and had
some other stuff happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but it was good.
Yeah. Ethiopian food.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
That's the first time I ever ate Ethiopian food.
Is that anything like our food?
If you've never had Ethiopian food, it's bomb.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. There's an Ethiopian restaurant. Well, it's closed now until this is over with, but it's right there at about 1500 South and State Street. It's in a little plaza.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know where there's a top ramen restaurant? It's in that plaza.
Oh, I was thinking 17th, but yeah, 15th. Yes, yeah, I know exactly.
Nothing is. Yep.
Yeah.
So if you ever get a chance, go check it out when it's open.
You know, like it's so weird, but I mostly only eat Samoan food, so I will go.
Serious?
Yeah, because it tastes
good.
Like
it.
It'll be good.
If you like your Polynesian food, you'll like it the way they have it, because you know they usually bring a platter out and then they have like this spongy bread, and you rip the bread apart and you use the bread to pick up your food. So you have to eat with your hands. So, and you can share it with. It's cool.
No,
you can share it with your whole
we don't
family.
share. I don't share. No, I'll just go by myself. Like the rest of y'all stay home. It'll be all right.
Yeah, for real. Okay.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've got the Pacific. I cannot say your
UPASEC.
UPASEC.
Yep, UPASEC.
UPASEC. You got UPASEC. You've got Sierra Club.
Yep. How
does this all of a sudden drive this initiative for you for the census? Because I've been seeing for months. Yeah. I think you started last year, didn't you?
Yep, I did. I started last year. So I got hired on actually I got hired on with the U.S. Census Bureau
Okay.
back in 2018. And my job was to create as many partnerships as possible. And so for the longest time, there was only me and my boss at the time, and that was it. And so he and I were like hella hitting the entire state of Utah, like just creating partnerships like crazy. And I already had a large network, so that
Yeah.
worked to my benefit. But
Mm-hmm.
it also gave me an opportunity to create new partnerships, you know.
Yeah.
And anytime I love part of the work that I love in the work that I do even now is creating partnerships, creating building my network, because I love, you know, people can call me and be like, hey, I have this, can you know somebody? I'm like, I know someone, you know, and I'll pluck
Yeah.
them
Let
out
me
of
just.
my Rolodex. And you know, I love creating partnerships with people, and that's my favorite thing is, you know, meeting new people, building relationships, creating partnerships. But
I
that
think
was my
that's one
job.
of the first things I ever heard about you.
What?
Because you Vienna works with you, right?
Yeah, Vienna is part of this, like, the team.
I thought so. Yeah. Vienna was
Oh,
my son's kindergarten teacher, and so I've known her since
oh,
like 5 or 6 years now.
yeah,
And she used to live with us for just a little while.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she would come home and she would tell me all about like how amazing you were.
Oh
Just
my God,
amazing. Like we would sit down for hours and she would just tell me about how great you are. And
I
Vienna
need to
is
give her a
smart.
raise.
Yeah, do that. Do that.
I need to give
CV,
her
I
a raise.
got you.
I need to give you a raise. Good job. Good job.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore Vienna.
Yeah,
Adore her.
she's good people. She really
She
is.
hates me because I keep putting her out. Like, you know, she's such an introvert, and I'm such a hardcore extrovert, and I'd be hella throwing her out in the spotlight, and she's like, "I need more time." No, I was like, "No,
Just do it.
we need this now." Like we just had a Pacific Islander uh, COVID, community COVID discussion.
Oh
There was a
wow.
lot of people on that line and a lot of movers and shakers on that line. But I called her and we just planned it like hella last minute. But that's how we operate. Like
Yeah.
that's you know, in a situation like this, it's direct response, right? And you
Right.
have
It's
to be
very
ready for it.
fluid. You got to just
Right?
move
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
And you got to just go with it. And we've done this so many damn times. And so the people that I work really closely with, like, we're used to doing this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call each other last minute and just all of a sudden an event's happening.
Yes, I know. Yes.
Yeah. So then I called Vienna up. I was like, so just so you know, we decided that we'd like you to come and talk on this during this community discussion and talk about, you know, domestic violence, domestic and sexual violence, because there's a spike in our community, a spike in Utah, a huge spike in Utah County, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, and
Was this all connected to the quarantine?
yeah, this was all this is like everything that had to do with, you know,
Oh,
coronavirus. Because our community didn't, I should have done a better job of posting I thought I posted on Instagram. I usually try to post, but, you know, I think people just don't really care for me.
I love you. And the movers and shakers, I love all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, so we had her come and talk about, you know, trauma,
Mm-hmm.
but we had a lot of presenters. We had several doctors on the phone, on the line. They were talking about the disease, and then
Yeah.
we went over data,
Yeah.
you know, and then we put together a badass resource Google Doc, you know. I'll have to
Mm-hmm.
send it to you. Um, and it just lists, you know, I mean, everything from, like, you know, if you have any issues or questions about housing, or if you're part of the LGBTQ community, here are some of the resources that you reach out to, or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, anything that has to do with, like, you know, applying for social programs or whatever, you know, or here's a
Right.
list of all of your community movers, you know, leaders and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's nice. So what I did was I took that, and it was very Islander centered. And
Right.
I hit up all my friends. Like, I hit up one of my friends who's Latinx, and I said, hey, you should take this resource document, use it as your framework, and center it on the Latino Hispanic community.
Right.
He's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna check this out. I go, you need to move on this, girl. You need. And then
You're late to the game. You're late.
yeah, yeah. And then I hit up Darlene McDonald. Darlene McDonald is the president of the the Utah Black Roundtable, you know.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I hit her up with same thing, same discussion. She's like, "Oh, I love this. Thank you so much." She hit up,
Yeah.
Felian, who's the president of OCA, which is an Asian American, PI organization. Totally,
Hmm.
I'm trying to get our communities of color to make sure that we can mobilize quickly, that we have, that we center our resources to our community and that we can access them immediately. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm just trying to make sure that our people's is covered
See, and you
because
do
we're
so
the
much
ones that are
work.
being hardest hit.
The, Tell me about that. Speak on that.
About our communities being hardest hit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in Utah, well, here in Salt Lake County, if you check out this, the Salt Lake County has a COVID dashboard. So if you go check it out, you'll
Oh, I
see.
just wait for you to post it. I know
Oh,
that's terribly irresponsible of me, but I
no,
know that you will. And so I'm like, when she posts it, then I'll know how sick I'm going to get.
you're not the only one. You're not the only one. And I almost feel embarrassed. And I'm like, they should not be doing this, And
Yeah.
so I just wait till you post. I'm like, holy crap. So Salt Lake County has like a COVID dashboard. You can go check it out. But if you look at the report, the two communities of color that are heaviest hit are number one, the Latino Hispanic community, and then number two, the Pacific Islander community. And it really has to do a lot with, a lot of the underlying health issues that we have, right?
Right.
So
Right.
Pacific Islanders are number one in a lot of things, a lot of bad things, like obesity, heart issues,
Yeah.
diabetes.
Yeah.
For a while there, we used to be number one in infant mortality rates.
I didn't know
Uh,
that.
yeah, it was bad. And so, if you, the most vulnerable to the coronavirus are people with diabetes, heart
Right.
problems,
Mhm.
respiratory problems. And I'm like, okay, and
That's
diabetes. I'm like,
that's us.
that's us.
Oh,
That's
there's
us.
my dad.
I
There
love
he
it.
is.
I think it's so funny because now that we're all working from home,
Hmm.
it's a new world. And so like I'll be on a Zoom call with everybody and everyone's families is like
Just
walking
walking by.
behind, kids are jumping into the camera. We done lost all professionalism and decorum. It's like out
Yes.
the window. So it's the funniest thing. We'll just be
Yeah.
talking and be all serious, but they can't even see that they have people walking, and we're
Yeah.
like, yo man,
He's trying to get your attention.
man trying to
Somebody's
get your
calling
attention.
you.
He's trying to call you. He's looking for cereal or something.
Right.
That's so funny.
Ah,
That's so funny.
oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So
So,
that's the reason. I mean, and if you look at the COVID dashboard, I mean,
mhm,
'cause, for the longest time they're like, yeah, and old people are heavily,
right.
affected and most vulnerable. But if you look at the COVID response, the COVID dashboard, the people with the demographic, the age group that are most infected are like 20-year-olds to like mid 40s, I think it is. They're the
Really.
most infected. And so I had posed a question like, are you also tracking, the underlying health issues of these
Mhm.
people who have been identified as having COVID? And they're like, that's a great question. We're talking about it because it would just be interesting to see like who's really getting like the infection, like the death rates,
Mhm.
of people with underlying issues versus people without underlying issues. You know what I mean? I
Right.
want to, you know,
Yeah.
so that's something I think that they're talking about tracking. I think it'd be really interesting to see
Just
like,
to see, yeah, what's
yeah, because
happening.
just from all the stuff from from the conferences, all the stuff that we've been reading is that it sounds like, anyone with underlying issues, like if you get hit with COVID, it exacerbates your already,
Anything that exists.
yeah. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
and so that's what I'm curious about. So that's, and then of course our community stuff, if you look at the COVID heat map, it tells you like which spots have like which spots are hardest hit.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised because it's like the West Side. It's like
It is.
it's
And Summit
Glendale,
County. I'm going to
Roseland,
give it to Summit
and
County.
Summit County, and
I don't know
Summit
what they
County.
did, but Summit County had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the
So
West Side. You're right.
yeah, definitely. So Summit County and definitely the West Side. And so, these are people who are blue collar workers.
Yeah.
Most of them are blue collar workers. Many of them are non-essential workers and essential workers. You're talking about lack of access to healthcare, or they're underinsured. And
Hmm.
so the problem's just compounded. One after the other, after just nonstop problems. So
Right.
it's like an area that's a demographic and an area that's just ripe for COVID.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the sad part. And so I'm really nervous about the governor. I'm shocked and I'm nervous.
Opening back up?
Yeah, he announced a soft opening like the first part of May, and I'm like, we don't even. I think one thing that if there's anything that I want anyone to really walk away from is I want them to walk away knowing that, number one, we don't have a vaccine. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna point that out if
Yeah.
you didn't.
Yeah,
Like,
we don't have a vaccine.
we don't have a plan yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Our only vaccine is social distancing, washing our hands, wearing masks and gloves, and running when we're going out for essentials and only essentials, staying home, staying safe. That's our vaccine.
Yeah.
That's it. We ain't got nothing else to fight.
So that soft open just kind of,
yeah,
any kind of open totally destroys that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of physicians are now starting to speak up saying your desire to open up is going to be deadly, because we ain't even, like, if you read the history about the Spanish flu, the 1918 Spanish flu.
Right. First wave was nothing compared to second wave.
First wave was nothing, and everyone was getting tired of sitting at home. They didn't want to stay home, and as soon as the war was over and they wanted to come out and celebrate, that was when the second wave hit, and it was a lot deadlier. Like, I think the total global number was like 20 million deaths.
Yeah.
Global. Yes. And it's like, holy.
Well,
do we not learn?
Listen, I just growing up and listening to my mom tell me stories, which, I sit down, I ask her all the time what happened. And when the Europeans, I'm going to say Europeans, when the Balanis came to Samoa, the flu, they wiped, right, I'm just saying. Like, I mean, and it wiped out, my grandfather died in that. Yep. And so if it was my grandfather, it really wasn't that long ago that they came with just the flu, and their systems couldn't take it. Yep. And it just.
And you know what's so crazy? It's the islands that have no reported cases of the coronavirus.
Because they don't leave.
They don't leave, and they've already, like, I saw a report that Tonga shut down their airports. They're not taking, like, no one can fly in.
Good for them.
That's how it was back then, That's why we have
you got coming on a boat.
Don't be coming to my island.
Listen how we're speaking for the islands we haven't been back to in how long.
Yeah, I know. Stay the hell away from my island.
Right. Listen, you know what?
Disease.
I haven't even lots of my cousins from Samoa have called, but they call at 2:00 in the morning. So it's fair that I'm not answering these calls. Also, I don't speak Samoan that well. So there's that. But
you're like, Mom.
No, you know what? We don't live together. I have one sister who speaks Samoan fluently, and I call her every day. I'm like, listen, it's your job to call them back and tell them we're fine, because I can't relate that to them. I don't know why they keep calling me.
Why are they calling me?
It's because I have the same name as my mom. They think we're the same person.
Oh.
The thing is, you know what? The islands just got hit with the measles. They're not playing. The measles. They're not playing. They're like, no, we've done this. We've been through this.
They're like,
we need to take this very seriously.
Girl. I'm just, I'm really saddened because we've already had like four COVID-related deaths, I think, 4 or 5, just in the past week. In 1 week.
Is that
our community.
Just really?
And we, I don't think people realize, like, we only make up like 1.5% of Utah's total population, and we're getting hit heavily.
Heavy. Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
And I'm saddened because a lot of people are catching this virus and they're not saying a damn thing about it. And I don't want to shame anyone. I get it. They're embarrassed. Well, no, I don't get it, but I get it. I know they want to be private, but at the same time, there's really nothing to be ashamed of. This is nothing like, everyone.
It's a non-discriminating problem. It take anybody. Yeah.
You could be walking behind some person downwind and they sneeze, and then their shit like flies in the wind, hits you in the face. You don't even know. Come home, coronavirus. You're like,
right. You got hit with the Rona. Yeah.
Anyone can get it, and it's not. I think everyone. And when you say it's worse than AIDS, because AIDS was so.
I just feel like AIDS wasn't as easy to get.
Exactly. It was so divisive because, they got AIDS. Oh, they're a sinner. They're out there like doing,
Yes. And we got to put all our judgments out there
gay
too.
Disease, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gay disease, or they do drugs and they, share needles.
Oh my gosh, you dropped totally right back into fob. That was so good. Trucks. And it's the
And they
trick
do
of
the
the trucks.
They do the drugs and share the needle. And I'm just like, this is not that virus.
It is not.
Anyone can get this. I mean, it don't give a damn if you're white, black,
Yeah.
brown, old,
Right.
young, rich as hell, poor as hell.
That's so true.
It don't give a damn. It just don't give a damn. It's looking for a
Right. If it's
host
coming for you, it's coming for you.
coming for you. So I'm very worried because I keep seeing all these damn, Pacific Islanders still like getting together in large groups. I'm like, and the last lady that passed away, I heard she might have contracted it when she went to a funeral, and and then one of the
Right.
reports that was really cool when we had our Pacific Islander COVID community discussion
Mm-hmm.
was from a Dr. Leilani Kinikini. And she talked about like a couple of cases that we're tracking, and the way she had like this map, and they said it started they were both clusters, right? So
Right.
this one started at a barbecue with family, this one started at like a funeral or something like that.
Right.
And then it tracks like
How it spreads from there.
how
Yeah.
it went from there.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, because we've only been talking about this like heavily for how long now? About a
Yeah.
month.
About a
And,
month.
but somebody knew about it back in January and didn't really,
Yeah. Well, it was definitely heavy on the news, but it was international news
yeah,
when it was
international.
just hitting China,
Yeah,
right?
it
And
didn't
then
hit our people, like our leaders at the top knew about this and were slow to respond.
very, but
And,
also slow to explain. You're looking at something real here.
yeah,
Kind of like when you're dealing with things that are, if you are dealing with facts that are not facts, otherwise known as lies,
yeah,
you can't prepare for anything
no, you
because you
can't.
don't have the right data set to create any sort of effective action off of.
You really can't. And the sad thing is, like, he may not have been able to stop this damn thing, but he could have definitely slowed its progress. You know what I mean? And
Right.
he didn't believe it for a long time. I mean, there's a whole history. Like I can't tell you how many freaking news outlets have come out with the timeline of, oh, it's nothing.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
right. I agree.
Yeah, and we didn't even, he didn't really start taking this seriously till about the middle of March, right around my birthday. So, you know.
That was also my birthday, also stuck indoors. So there you
Wait,
go.
when's your birthday?
The 22nd. When's yours?
The 12th.
Oh, see, I was
Celebrated
flying
my
on that day.
50th indoors, girl. My big 50 was COVID
Listen,
related. That should have been a big ass party, and it
it
wasn't.
should have been, and I should have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be 50. We're gonna throw down, blah blah. And then it was like COVID hit. I'm like, son of a gun, I can't even go out.
Right.
Sorry, I'm gonna try to not swear, but I
Listen, life is life. I'm not cutting it. So there you go.
You want me to repeat that part?
No, no, I don't. We're good. We're good just the way. So now bring this back around to the census. Why is it so important right now? Because I know there's another meeting coming up right on Wednesday.
Yeah, so I got invited to, I don't even know who invited me. Also, I got an email and they're like, would you like to be on the panel and talk about, please? Because I heard you guys are doing good things out in Utah, right? And I worked hella hard for that, and many, really hard. And so, the importance of census is, and I don't know, did you want to go to the PowerPoint or no?
Yeah, do you want to do it or you want me to pull it from my screen?
You pull it from your screen if that's okay.
Okay, then you got to go beep so I know when to change.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
So, yeah.
1 second here.
Oh, you're the best.
Look at us on our census call.
Look at us being all legit.
What? Okay, so let's see.
Being all Zoom.
You know what? I don't remember how to open these.
I
opened it earlier because I went through everything.
Go up to the right where it says present.
Up to the, let me move us down.
Oh, right,
there we go.
Yep.
All right.
So go back to the top. I think we're at the middle of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, every 10 years, the the government does a snapshot of the country, and does that by counting every single person in the United States. And it has nothing to do with your your citizenship status. If you're human, you have two legs, and it's on U.S. soil, you're counted. You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is just my contact information if anyone's interested, has any questions about the census or anything else, but they're more than welcome to take a snapshot of this and just email me first, because if you call me and I don't recognize your number, I'm not answering.
Right. We
Or if you
screen.
text me, yeah, if you text me, then I'll answer. I'll respond. Next.
Yeah, I like that no risk policy. No.
Yeah. So, again, just like I said, there are three main reasons why the census happens every year. Number one, it's mandated by the Constitution. So back when in the founding of our fathers, I think it was like what, 1775? Okay, don't quote me on that.
1776 was when.
1776.
Yeah.
Okay. It was mandated that an actual enumeration would be made 3 years after the founding of our country, and then from then on to every 10 years. So we've been doing census since way back, since the founding of our fathers. All right, next.
I feel like I'm the kid in school who gets to, do you remember when you'd have to play the tape and turn the thing at the same time? Yes. I know you're good.
The second reason why this is so important is because it actually dictates the apportionment of congressional representation. So it decides like how many representatives each state gets. So if you notice, back in 2010, these are all the states that actually gained representation. Utah used to have just 3 representatives, and we now have 4. And then you see on the right side of that, all the states that lost representation. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we gained 1, which is actually Ben McAdams. That would be Congressional District 4, and I think he's my representative. So that's like number 2, like why this is so important for us. Number 3, and my favorite, federal funding. This is so important to me, and you can't really see the report out of the George Washington University, but it's about hundreds of billions of dollars. It's actually, I think, more than $675 billion. But the data that the census collects helps the federal government budget, right? And so for each person in the United States, you're looking at about $2,000 per person per year for 10 years, right? So a lot of the funding that we get goes to like Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, which is the Children's Insurance Plan, WIC, TANF, so if we have a lot of families who are, dependent on some of our social welfare programs, and they're dependent on food stamps to raise their families. It also helps fund like the national school lunch programs, Title I schools. We have a lot of Title I schools in Utah, especially like on the west side, who are very heavily dependent on federal dollars. It's also, and people who go to college, like, for Pell Grants, right? The data that we collect, that the money goes into the Pell Grants and it funds those programs. It also is, important for the Department of Transportation, because if my city or my state is growing, I want to know, like, where do I need to build more roads? Because if there's a growth in one particular area, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate roads to be able to like get people back and forth to wherever they need to go,
Yeah.
And also very important for like emergency responders. Like, I need to know if there's a natural disaster, like where are people at, so that I can go and check up on them and if they need to be saved, So businesses use them to track like the growth of the area where their business is at, and then they try to see if there's a trend, and if there's a growth somewhere nearby, like, I'm wondering if maybe I should, build another store or another business or whatever in that particular area. Like everyone, so many people are dependent on the data, but for me, the most important are the funds, because we have so many people in our community who are really they're dependent on a lot of these social programs. We have a large population of older folks who are on Medicare. We also have a lot of young, families that are, low income, who are dependent on the food program, WIC and CHIP for their families. So I have, I know a lot of people, a lot of friends of mine who are women who go to school full time, are low income. They have like part-time jobs, or they even have full-time jobs, but it doesn't pay well,
Right.
and they
Doesn't
need those
cover the
programs.
needs.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
also covers like Title VIII vouchers for people who are dependent, who are on housing. So
Right.
there's this part of the reason why it's important. And I mean, all of it is important, but for me, the most
Right.
important is funding, because if I'm a teacher and I have 20 kids in my class, and only five of them are accounted for
Mm-hmm.
the next 10 years, my budget is going to be based on those 5 kids. So I have to take that
Yeah.
budget and stretch it thin for 20
20
kids.
kids.
That's the
Yeah.
importance of making sure that these kids are counted, so you can get the appropriate funding, so that we can project correctly off of accurate numbers. You know what I mean? So
Right.
if we were to experience an undercount, you're talking about major cuts to like major programs like Medicare, Medicaid, CHIP, like these are important programs, and especially for our senior, or like many of our elder population,
Right.
so
Right.
these are things we don't, uh,
They don't stay at the front of your mind, but they're affected
yeah, they
by.
don't. I
Yeah.
remember when I had a conversation, I met with a Relief Society president and her counselors, and I was
Mm-hmm.
telling them about funding and stuff. She's like, I didn't know that. Like I'm dependent on that, because she was one of the counselors was single
Right.
moms, had 6 kids, and she's like, I am dependent on almost all those programs like
Yes.
Medicaid, and I use the
Yeah.
food program to help me raise my children. And she's like, I didn't realize that. I go, well, now you know, because if there's a cut, you could lose money,
Right.
lose funding.
Right.
So to tie those things together was like, it was an aha moment for her. But
Right.
also, we hold the census is, they do a phenomenal job of like protecting the information that they collect, because um, for 72 years they hold on to your data. And then after 72 years, they release your data for like genealogical purposes. And our people, we love genealogy.
Oh, don't we? we
We
we need to
love,
be able to trace it
uh,
back to
yeah,
the beginning of the island.
exactly. We come from this family. It's a big family.
Every
And you're
time
like,
you do that, my heart leaps for joy. I do that all the time. People are like, why do you speak just like your mom? She's been my mom for all 41 years of my life.
I know.
That's why I can speak like my mom.
Well, it's so funny because my mom lived, before she passed away. I mean, she lived here for like 49 years, and she never lost the damn accent. And you're like,
Never. Like, yeah.
what's going on? And so, like, so many of the Tongans that, or Pacific Islanders that moved here when they
Mm-hmm.
were older, not when they were little babies or
Yeah.
kids, but when they're like older, that they haven't been able to lose their accent.
Well, you know what? They don't listen either. I learned that.
That's
They
why.
don't listen, and that's why
Yeah.
they don't understand. And it's okay if they don't listen. They're never
Yeah.
gonna, just
For
because I
real.
said so, right?
The really cool thing about the Census Bureau is that, like,
Hmm.
for instance, at a bank, if you want to, they have like 7 lines of encryption that protect your money, your data. The Census Bureau has 14. They have
Oh.
double that. And because I'm no longer with the census, but when I was there, I had to take a lifetime oath.
Hmm.
And that lifetime oath made me promise that I would never, uh, do anything that would jeopardize the data that was being collected. Now,
Yeah.
mind you, I don't see any of that data anyway, but
Anyway,
if I were to see that data and I were to break the oath, I mean, I'm looking at like 5 years in federal prison and a $250,000 fine. I ain't got the
they're not
money.
playing, right?
Yeah, I don't have the money nor the time. I'm not trying to go to prison for nobody.
Right. I don't care what you wrote down. I can't see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't see nothing. Can you go to the next slide?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Next
I
slide.
don't even know the next slide. So some of the challenges that the census faces, and even us as just community advocates, is that there are hard to count populations, and those
Mhm.
hard to count populations include communities of color. This was shocking to me. Children that are 5 years old and under, college students, anywhere that there are language barriers. Rural Utah rural areas are very
Yes.
hard to count.
Yeah.
People with like lack of internet, and then of course a lot of people who have all these like conspiracy theories and distrust for the government, privacy
Right.
concerns. But um, for some reason, people, I don't know what the hell, but before, when they used to do the paper survey, they just wouldn't list their kids 5 years old and under. And we have a rising uh, number of little kids. And we have to make sure that they're counted, because over the next 10
10
years,
years. They're not
that's
going
all
to be
we got.
little.
That's it.
Yeah.
The budget we have is for 10 years. And so, the cool thing is this is the first year that the survey will be available online. First year ever. And it's so funny because I was out there preaching the importance of, filling out the census and, that it's going to be on the internet. But in my mind, I'm like, frick, I have to go and fill that damn thing out, And so when I went on to find, when it went live, I went on and I filled it out. It was so easy.
Really?
So, man, I was very impressed with the work that they did and how they put this together. It was very user-friendly, very easy to fill out. It took me not even I think probably less than 10 minutes to fill it, because I have 12 people in my house.
Okay.
Yeah. And it took me less than 10 minutes to fill everyone in there. And they made it that easy. So,
and everybody has at least how many letters in their name?
You know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying.
But the cool thing is, I tell everybody, I was like, man, this is one of the smoothest apps I've seen in a long time. It was so
nice.
Smooth, very user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the issues though is that back in, I think it was 2010, a report came out from, it was Kim C. Gardner, that about 75,000 households don't have access to the internet. Right. They don't have, they're on the opposite side of the digital divide. For whatever reason, it could be that they just don't want to be on the grid, they don't want to be, or they don't have access to Wi-Fi or a computer. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the hardest parts of making. So one of our partners was Granite School District, and what they committed to was they have 95 schools. Out of the 95 schools, 33 of them have community centers. Each of the community centers has computers, Wi-Fi. And they opened their doors at April 1st was Census Day. They opened the doors and they said, hey, but then COVID happened.
Right. And they're like, okay, well, maybe just slip a note under the door.
Just kidding. So, but what they did was, they sent out 35 school buses that were supposed to act as mobile hotspots. And they they were very strategic and went out into neighborhoods that, lacked Wi-Fi, that they knew there was a lot of people that might not have, because a lot of the kids are now working on school online from home.
Right.
But a lot of them don't have Wi-Fi. So I thought that was the coolest project, making the bus like a hotspot. And
that
then,
is cool.
And then driving into very specific neighborhoods to provide Wi-Fi to the people in that neighborhood. I thought, man, why can't we just have free Wi-Fi first,
Okay, well, and then there's that.
Yeah. I mean, it should be like water and air, and it should just be free for everybody, but whatever. Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, no, and we'll have it. I can tell this is coming up.
Yeah.
Especially with the 5G on the horizon. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if you look at the map, of Utah, so this is the map of Utah. The blue area are areas that are actually going to get a reminder card and an invitation to fill out their census. So these are all people that are going to get or have already received an invitation to fill out their census online.
Should I do the YouTube way?
Yeah, like that. Like that. So those are the people that have received exactly just like that letter, right? But the brown areas are areas that won't receive an invitation in the mail. So an actual enumerator from the census will deliver a paper survey and also a card inviting them to jump online and fill out their census survey. Because the census doesn't count P.O. boxes, and a lot of these places don't have, a lot of these places are either their addresses aren't listed or they don't have or they use a P.O. box, so they don't get counted. Whereas everybody else, they use their home address. Right? Yeah. So that one was a big concerted effort by Census, and they had Are
they still going to do that? Have they already started doing that?
Oh yeah, they've already done that. They started that back in the beginning of March, I think. Even for probably the late part of February, I think.
Oh, so they were ready to go before things had to take.
Oh yeah,
place.
They start working on their census plans as soon as the last census is done. So once this is all done, so if you want to go to the next slide, I don't even know what I put on the next slide. I forgot what I put. I did this like late at night, Pella, just so you know.
Listen, I don't put together PowerPoints, and this is beautiful.
I was like, I need to put together a PowerPoint so we can talk about this. Yeah, so if you visit the census.gov website, I love going to census.gov because there's a lot of data on there, and I hate math, but I love data, which is the weirdest. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, everyone's like, what? And which reminds me of this one. I worked in IT for like 20 plus years, and I remember I told my boss I hate math, and here I am working in IT. I said, but I can break your system. If you give me your code, if you give me your app, I'll break it and find all the problems.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a math one that was like heavily math, and I'm like, I just told you I hate math. Anyways.
Hey, I'm gonna make a huge generalization, but all the Tongans I know, rocket math.
I know.
Even if they say they hate it, they still rocket math.
They rock it. I don't know what it is. They're so good at it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're good at math, and I'm like, oh my gosh! Like my niece, she graduated like a couple years ago from Westminster.
Yeah.
And I got a bachelor's in math. I'm like, who the hell gets a
bachelor's in math? Nerd.
No. I know, like, get away from me. Math.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the half Tongan cousins I have.
Yeah.
All of them accountants. All of them.
My kids when they were except for my 27-year-old, he's like me. We both were like, I don't know what's wrong with us. But the rest of my family were like the kids. They were like they were good at like algebra and stuff.
Yeah. Weird, it just like made total sense then.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we get it. I'm like, what?
Listen, I'm still working on X. What? No.
I'm like, first of all, why? No, not the letter Y. Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? Yeah.
Why are there letters in math problems? You gotta find for why. And I'm like, F that. Anyhow, so if you go visit census.gov, they have a ton of data, a ton of fun information. A lot of data-driven reports and stuff on there. So if you get a chat, like I like to nerd out on that kind of stuff, which is so weird. But as of yesterday, like I went and checked the 2020 census self-response, and on the left is by internet. So we are killing it. Utah is probably like the top seven most self-response. So we're at like 54%, whereas the nation is at 44%. And then overall, like paper, phone, internet, on the right side.
We're still doing better than everyone.
We're still doing way better. And the Pacific Islanders in Utah they're leading. We're leading. So compared
Does
to
it have anything to do with you? I feel like
it might. Me.
It might.
I wish I could take credit for that, but I don't think it's just me. Like we've done a really good job of partnering up with like key stakeholders, key members, and they've been really phenomenal as far as doing the outreach work. In fact, we got I left. I'm no longer with the census, but because I got my job with the Sierra Club, and then my coalition was contracted with the state and with some national partners to continue doing the census work, right?
Oh, okay.
So we hired. We already recognized there's no way in hell we can do this by ourselves,
Right.
So we took some of those funds and we hired like 2 Samoans, 2 Tongans, 4 Micronesians. We partnered with a Hawaiian nonprofit organization, a Maori nonprofit organization. We had like 1 Fijian, and then another Micronesian organization. And we provided funding.
Yeah.
And we said, these are our expectations. We are looking for an accurate count, and so they went out there and they turned it up. We did like quick trainings. We try to check in at least every other week, to see if anyone has any, questions or any concerns. If they need anything, they know they can reach out to me for any resources or any information or any questions. Just so you know, like the census was supposed to end July 24th. Because of the COVID, they've extended it all the way to October 31st.
Oh, okay.
So we really have some time to be 100, like
close to
100% as we can possibly get, because one of the partners that we created was with the Midvale City, and one of the community council meetings I went to, the Midvale mayor was there, and he was saying that they did the math
Mm-hmm.
And from 2010 until now, they realized they were able to find out how undercount they were, the percentage of undercount. And then like it was like $9 million a year for 10 years that they were
That
losing.
we're gonna lose, and they're like, oh no,
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 not gonna. They lost it.
lost.
They lost it
Oh,
from 2010.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
from
this was
2010. So they were like going back and they were doing their analysis and they said, we have this many people, but we only
yeah.
counted this X amount of people. And we lost like $9 million a year per year for 10 years, and they're like, we're not going to let that happen.
Again.
We need that money.
Yes.
And so a lot of cities, and it's funny because it's funding is a lot of concern, like is cause for like states butting heads with each other. Because if
Right.
I'm a parent living in Utah, but I have a kid who's going to college in California, my kid is supposed to fill out the census survey for himself
So
in
in
California.
California,
So
yeah.
California is going to get those funds, and
Right.
Utah's not going to get the funds, right?
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's cause for concerns, because then the state leaders will be like, well, but their parents, they're from here, they're from Utah. Like, no, they're here in
They're in
California. Yeah.
California.
So
Yeah.
it's constant, like it's a lot of headbutting. And the crazy thing is, I've noticed is like with red states, very uber conservative states are states that just didn't really care for the census. And then like, very democratic states are like hardcore spending tons of money on census efforts. Like
Right.
California, I think spent near 100 million just to push for census efforts, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not doing as good as Utah is, because we're
Yeah.
working really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
sat so I'm part of a national partner, NHPI national team,
Mm-hmm.
and we always check in like every week. And one of their concerns is that the Pacific Islander community is almost as if they're being, because when we fill out those surveys, they're
Yeah.
tallying. They're tallying like, okay, we've
Yeah.
already had this many people, we've had Pacific Island like this number of, and they're at the point where they're really worried that our Pacific Islanders, the numbers are looking as if they're like non-existent in California.
Oh, but that's our hub.
That's
that's
what I'm
that's our
saying.
secondary hub. Like,
I'm
yeah.
like, what is going on? So we're really trying to push, like, no, so now you'll notice like my messaging also includes like, asking people here, like when
Mm-hmm.
you're talking to family members and you're reaching out and you're, on the phone or just like talking to each other, like tell them to fill out their census, because to me it's important. I want to know. I'm so curious to see how much we've grown in the
Right.
past. Girl, that's my
No, yeah, no, I was like, hey, that's just like my family.
I'm like, girl. I'm like, girl.
Cameras are still rolling.
I'm like, cameras are rolling. Anyhow, I'm really curious to see how much our community has grown. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's those like I love to see those numbers, and then I would love to eventually, like, in 72 years, just seeing. I've met people who've been around for like 4 censuses. That's like 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just curious. It would be so cool to have our descendants like reading about us, and I don't know. I just think it would be cool. Anyways, what's
Right.
the next slide?
Oh, let's see. Oh, there's your
So
group.
yeah, there's my girl. So these are just some. This is not all of them. These are some of the our census community specialists. So
Yes.
they'll be reaching out to a lot of the members in their community, and we wanted to make sure that all of the communities were represented, because we wanted to make sure we got an accurate count of all of our Pacific Islander communities. In fact, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5 in the back are all Micronesians. Yeah, that's the only Polynesian.
Yeah. Yes, but you know what? This is the same group that shows up for everything.
They do. They show up
Yeah.
for everything. These are the usual suspects.
They really are.
They
Yeah, you see
really
them
are.
everywhere. Yeah.
And I absolutely love them, and they work really hard to make sure that their communities are being counted. So I'm very thankful for their help.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
so if you see these faces, like they're looking to count, they want you to be counted.
I am just going to point out that granted, there are not very many people who know that I'm Samoan unless we grew up together.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna call it out. Be like,
Yeah.
where are all the Samoans? Where are they here? They
So
should be
Luisa,
here.
so we have, yeah, they didn't show. Well, Luisa, I think one of them could not make. It was Cookie. I don't know if you know
Of
Marilyn
course.
Patel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
So I think
doesn't?
Marilyn,
Who
yeah.
doesn't?
So Marilyn is one of our, and then of course Jacob. So Jacob
Uh-huh.
is my partner in crime in all of this.
Nice.
So there's Jacob, there's Cookie, and then there's Luisa Alvaa. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you know.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, and Luisa is doing
Alva
a
is like the
badass
biggest
job.
family. Yes,
Yeah, she's
nice.
amazing. She's doing great work, hella doing outreach, and I absolutely love her. She's amazing. Like this is the first time we met, and I absolutely love. I just love her.
So they just
So
didn't
yeah,
show up for picture day, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
she didn't
Then
show
I
up for
take
today.
my
So
scathing review back. Like,
no, sometimes you got to call people out, and it's okay, you know. But yeah, I don't know. They couldn't make it to this training, so I made sure that we had other trainings available. You know, we just
yeah,
continue to do it. Like it's nothing, you know.
this
and
is
and they're
good.
just doing a phenomenal job, so I'm very happy for them. Hello, they're doing phenomenal because we're leading, you know. So
Right, right, right. The numbers
it,
show it.
yes, the numbers are showing that we're doing our work, and it's not work that, you know, I'm not just taking the funding for ourselves and just keeping it with us. Like
Mm-hmm,
we shared that with our community, and
mm-hmm.
there was an expectation to make sure that the entire community was being counted. So
Right.
you want to go to the next slide?
I will,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank
Let's
you.
see.
I think this might be the last one. I'm not sure, but these are the different ways that you can respond. And it's number one is internet, you know, and I'm so excited. There's a real big push for people to fill out the survey online because it's a lot less expensive for the census, a lot less,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easier, you know. And
Right.
so there's the internet. They still have the phone. They still do have the paper, and then eventually, like you know, an enumerator could come to your house and help you fill out your census. But really, the easiest way would be the internet. So it's hard because we've had to make this pivot to a digital reality.
Yeah.
So, you know, before we used to go meet people in person, we used to
Mm-hmm.
be able to meet people and help them fill out their census, you know, but now we have to do it over the phone. We have to meet via Zoom. You'll see, like, we've been very, well, at least I have been, and I think all of us have been a lot more aggressive as far as our digital presence and sharing the importance of census. I know I'm very aggressive online. I try not to be.
Listen, I live for your page.
Yeah.
I live for it. So,
Oh God, thank you so much. I'm just telling you right now. Like I'm just, you know, it's so funny because you'll see two sides of a person's personality. Like
oh yeah.
they talk a lot online, but in person you're like, oh, you're so quiet. Like I'm
Because I
aggressive
got nothing to
online and I'm
say.
aggressive. Yeah, I'm aggressive online and I'm aggressive in person. So I'm just, and I just, I'm so down for our people. I'm down for my community. You know, I want us to be represented. I want us to get everything, all the resources that are out there. I want us to have full access to. You know what I mean? So,
Right, right.
and then I think the next one might be the last one. I'm not sure.
I think you had 10.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, but I don't see where's it? Oh, there it is. Yep,
Yeah.
this was it. Yep.
So yeah, and so I should have added my. What was I thinking? I was not thinking I could have added mine on there as well. But if these are all the different social media, if you're interested in census and you want to follow like some of the stuff that they're doing, or even
Mm-hmm.
like take some of this, you know, because they're always posting, little memes and stuff and information about social census. You
Mm-hmm.
can follow any one of their accounts. They have a Facebook, a LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and just they have a ton of a wealth of information. And then you can follow us, UPSEC, which is on Facebook, it's UPICEC, and it's the same on Instagram and on Twitter. UPICEC.
UPSEC.
UPSEC.
See, it only took me an
You
hour.
got it, girl. You got it. So
UPSEC.
that's it. That's my little short presentation. Like, I just wanted to share with everyone, like, the importance of. I hope that message came through. Like, I hope the message came through. Girl, my hair. I hope that message came through as far as like the importance of why we have to fill out the census. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of just as important as registering to vote. That's
Mm-hmm.
another big
Stand
it's
up and be
another big
counted.
one for UPSEC. Like one of our big initiatives is one of our biggest ones and main ones is getting people to register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then we take a next step further. You can turn. This is done. We're done with that. And then we take it a step further, and we start to hold like town halls for candidates who are running. And we
Okay.
usually try. We've already had like 3 town halls now, and we invite all the candidates who. Well, the funny thing is, we try to focus on candidates in areas that have like a high percentage of Pacific Islanders. But
Mm-hmm.
when the candidates find out that we're doing like a town hall, they're like, "Oh, can we come in?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
You know, because it's all free. I mean, we do it for free. It's free. We don't
Yes.
charge them. You know, they just do it for free, and
Yeah.
And it's a good way for our community. And it's hard to pack those things with our people,
Yeah.
try to get them to come in. And last time we did it, we did a Facebook Live. Not only do we want our people to register to vote, that's step number one. Step number two is like familiarizing yourself with the candidates that you're voting for.
Voting for.
And making sure that their platforms, that the policies that they're running on, that their values align with yours, right?
Right.
And so that's like hella important step number two, right? But just registering people to vote and then talking to them about issues. And it's funny because a lot of people think that, elections only happen when it's a presidential elections. There are elections
all the
every
time.
single damn year. Every single damn year there's an election.
Why the signs never come down? Because
No,
something's always going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for representatives, both federal and state, they only are in office for like 2 years. So every 2 years they're running, like every year they're running for office. They're like constantly campaigning.
Right.
Where senators have it a little more easy. I think they're in the office for like 4 to 6 years, might be 6 years. So they got some time. They got some time to run for office. They got some time to do some real work on the ground.
Get things done.
I wish they would change I wish they would change it. I think 4 years is perfect. Same thing with city council. Like in city council, I think with West Valley, I think you have like 7. Let me think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I think 5. So you've got 4 districts, and then you've got one that's at large. And the 4 districts, they're not up for re-election on the same years. So like District 1 and 3 might be up for re-election now. 2 and 4 won't be up for re-election until the next year. Yeah. So it's like there's always elections going on, always.
Something happening.
And so people are like, "What? We have to vote again?" Yeah, yes, that's part of your your responsibility.
There's got to be a point where we figure out how to make it so that people understand this is in their own self-interest.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
like, I guess, you know what? Between now and the next time we do this, we're going to have to brainstorm some ideas to,
so
for Rock the Vote, get people back out there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I am, so, you'll always see me. It's funny because, like, I be doing, like, from, like, the most, everyone's like, oh, you're going to go table? Like, oh, my God, that's so boring. And I'm like, that's like the best part of the work that you're doing, because you're literally meeting people face to face. You're meeting people and you're educating them on the spot to their faces. Like, you don't have to go to their house. They're all right there, So to me, it's really important to table. I've tabled, girl, I can't even tell you how many times I've tabled. I can't tell you how many times. I think I've knocked on thousands of doors. I've tabled so many damn times. I've called thousands of people on their phones, and phone bank. I've run like several political campaigns. I've been up at the Hill, like lobbying for or against, policy that either hurts or benefits our people. Like, these are the types of actions that I hope will eventually become the norm for Pacific Islanders. I always, anytime there's like an important policy that's being discussed or a bill that hits the ground during legislative session that I think is important for our people, I always create an opportunity for people to like write their legislators, and I try to catch it. I mean, there's a whole process, but I try to catch a bill when it's in the committee hearing, right? So I'll invite people, hey, let's go to the Hill, come with me, let's go testify, and then if they can't testify, because I get it, people work, then I'll do like, write a letter to your legislator, and I'll create like a generic letter, and then all they have to do is just plug in their name, plug in their,
not Rona.
Bless you.
Allergies, I promise. Sorry.
I didn't want to take mine because I would have been out. Yeah. So anyways, I mean, those are the things that we're working on, and, just educating. So that's separate from UPASEC because we're just a 501c3. So outside of UPASEC, this is what I do as a community member. I do community lobbying. We train for community, how to be a community lobbyist. We train, we hold Know Your Rights trainings.
Right.
Right now we're working together with, a woman who runs an organization called Journey of Hope, and she works with women who are incarcerated women and women who are trying to re-enter into society. So we're in the middle of we're going to be working on creating a curriculum this is the thing, and this is why we're doing this, is because, I went in for a training to become a volunteer in the prisons, right? And we had found out that the guy that was providing the training was Samoan.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here because our Pacific Islander female inmates need this." And I went, "Oh, what's going on?" And he said, "They always complain that when there's resources to be given, the men always get it and they don't." And I said,
Oh,
and
interesting.
it hit me, when we think of criminals and people who are incarcerated, the image that comes to mind are men.
It's
We
true.
never think about women. So they're
Right.
not getting any resources. So we're in the middle, or we're not in the middle, we're about to embark on uh, creating a curriculum strictly for the women, and providing training for the women who are incarcerated,
Hmm.
to give them an opportunity so when they get out, they'll be able to, the reentry is
Right.
not
To
as tough.
reassimilate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as tough.
Yeah.
And that they get a fair shot, a fair, a second chance. And
Yeah.
so I'm
I,
excited.
I know there are a lot of people who are not very sympathetic to that, but just
They're not.
imagine what it's going to be like when you have to leave your house after this quarantine.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, you're going to worry that people are looking at your eyebrows, looking at your hair, looking at your tongue.
Okay.
And that's small in comparison to
Oh yeah.
trying to overcome all of those different stereotypes and whatnot that come with being imprisoned.
Yeah. And I want people to have a shot. And the system is so, I mean, it's truly, there exists like systemic racism. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
not only is it a very racist system, but it's also a discriminatory one for people who are poor.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people I know, like, cash bail, like,
Hmm.
if people who are sitting in prison or jail because they can't afford to bail out,
Right.
oh, well, you're going to sit here until
Till
you
that
can
time runs
afford,
out.
huh?
Yeah. Till the timer runs out on your
Yeah.
sentence. Yeah.
Yep. Until your time
And
runs
in the
out. Your sentence.
meantime, your whole entire life will fall apart.
Yep. You lost your job. You're
Yeah.
losing your place.
I've
Your
seen it
family has
before.
no, you might be the primary income earner. And so
Right.
that's gone.
Hmm.
So there's like so much, like we when people ask me like, "Oh yeah, what have you lobbied?" Girl, I've lobbied a lot. You know
Lot.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I
Mhm.
can't tell you. I mean, there's just so much.
Yeah.
And the thing that, and it's funny because a lot of following people who have, they have good intentions and they think that they're lobbying on
Hmm.
behalf of communities of color,
Yeah.
but communities of color have more than just criminal justice issues. Okay, don't,
Right.
that's the thing that pisses me off, is like when they think community colors are like, oh, criminal justice.
We're
No.
not a monolith, okay?
Yeah, no, we need to talk about the wealth gap. We need to talk about, like, redlining. We need to talk about gentrification. Like,
There's a lot.
we're not just about criminal justice. Yeah, let's get the hell out of here with that.
The way you just,
Yeah, come on.
yeah.
Like, get the hell
Yeah.
out of my face with that. Get out of here. Don't talk. No, get out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I mean,
It just all has to be rounded out, right? You can't focus on just one thing. Everything has to be taken care of, right? You
everything
don't
has,
brush
I mean,
one tooth in your mouth. You brush all of them.
yeah. I mean, according to, I can't remember where the statistics came from, but like Black women are the most degreed women out there. Women of color out there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and it's and for Pacific Islanders, I think the most degreed are like the Tongan community out of
Hmm.
the Pacific Islander community, right? But you have people that are coming out and are hitting a wall when they're trying to find, jobs that match their degrees, and
Hmm.
like when they're finally in the workforce, they have that, what's that term, a glass ceiling, but that doesn't exist
Yeah.
for women of color. What exists for us are there's concrete ceilings, like we just
Yes.
don't even see the top. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's rare. I mean, it's so cool when I can see like women of color like making it
Right.
like I
Right.
love watching yeah, anyhow, that's a whole nother
Were
conversation.
you going to
So,
say Ayanna Presley?
oh girl, I love Ayanna Presley, but Issa Rae for
Oh,
me, my girl, like, I don't
I'm
even know
so
how
mad
to
because my name is Issa. And so I
yeah,
was like, man, you came out first with Issa. I can't use
yeah,
it. I got to
I'm
stick with
like,
Pella.
I think she and I should be best friends. Like, we should
She's
just be best friends.
hilarious.
But like,
Yes.
I want to see I can't wait till Pacific Islander women and all women of color are at that level. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
think New Zealand has done a really phenomenal job in the entertainment industry.
Statement. Yeah.
Wow, dude, man, I'm
Yeah.
like, I wish we could have that here. But I'm starting to see like
I watch a lot of coconut TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, huh. Okay. I laugh alone because nobody understands what's going on. I love it. Yeah.
I love my people, man. I love my people. Sometimes I can't stand my people, but I absolutely am crazy about my people.
Yeah.
Like they be doing stuff, and I'm like, y'all just drive me crazy sometimes. But
I mean,
I
I
go
still go
hard. I
up for
go hard.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go hard for my people, for real.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
I know
have
you
to go hard
do.
for my people. Yeah, and people like, I don't know. I think people trip out sometimes. Like, I'm so they. I come across, I guess, as the angry brown woman, and I'm like, I'm not angry. Well, okay, I am angry,
Yeah.
but I'm very passionate, and I want us to win.
Well, and that's the thing. Passion and anger, sometimes they look pretty similar.
Yeah, they look very similar, but I just want us to win.
Right.
I want our kids to have the same
Opportunities.
opportunities and as them other folks.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to win. I want them to be successful. Whatever that success means. It doesn't, success is defined differently for everybody, but I
Yeah.
want them to have that opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
Right.
don't want to
Right.
be, I'm tired of our people, and especially the black community gets it worse than everyone, but I don't want to be discriminated against. I want to be given a fair opportunity. Like the fact that we have to have gosh, I can't even think. What is that? Um, Affirmative action
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we get a foot in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah. A lot
that's
of
where I'm at. I
implications
don't know if you
there,
have any
right?
other questions. Huh?
No, it's just a lot of implications. A lot of
Lot, yeah, a
things where,
lot.
yeah, you start to look at it and you're like, really? This is, I
Yeah.
mean, where did this all come from and why
Yeah.
is it still, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
For sure.
I went to college, but I only have one class before I even get my degree. I just got so busy and wrapped up in all this work that, it
Mm-hmm.
just, and then I don't know.
It's all
Um,
understandable, but
yeah.
passion is passion, right?
Passion,
And when you're
passion.
willing to do the work, when your
Yeah.
boots on the ground,
Uh-huh.
I mean, who can say anything to you at that point? If
True
you're
that.
not willing to do the work with me, then you can
Yeah.
go ahead and just keep your
Yeah.
big opinions in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep social distancing from me.
Yeah, right. Just go ahead and distance yourself out of my
Yeah.
my sight
Go ahead and
range,
keep
my
social
hearing
distancing
range.
yourself. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we're working on a lot. We're working on a lot of things, and our last Pacific Islander COVID community discussion was a success, and I
Yes, it
hope
sounds like it.
and yeah, and we're planning on doing it like every other week, just to like continue to update our people,
Yeah.
and just make sure. And then we're just like passing out the resource uh document to everybody, and I'll send it to you too, Pella, and so you can
Thank
look
you.
at it. It's
Yeah.
a Google Doc, so if that doesn't work for you, let me know, and I can send you the PDF or a Word document. It's like 16 pages, but the Google Doc is so easy to maneuver.
Yeah. Send me that.
Yeah,
That's what yeah.
yeah.
That'll be
Other
great.
than that, do you have any other questions for
I
me?
don't. No, thank
Okay.
you so much for talking about everything. Everything. Like it's good to understand. Okay, tell me the name. Give me the acronym again.
The Utah Pacific Islander Civic Engagement Coalition.
It is so long, but I'm
It is.
grateful to
That's why we
know
say UPASEC. Yeah.
UPASEC. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm grateful that you told me about that. Also the Sierra Club. All of those
Yep.
things are like,
Yeah.
they're amazing. And the community outreach is what's important, right?
It's huge, and especially with our community, because a lot of us don't listen to the news. A lot of us don't listen to the Palangis, but we do listen to our other
The old people
organizations.
do.
Yeah, like the old. Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying. And then they try to tell us, yeah.
Yeah, but we have we have movers and shakers out there from our own
Right.
community who are doing the work, who are on the ground, who are doing
Yeah.
reaching out. Like the Utah Pacific Islander Health Coalition also is our partner. So Jake Fitzmanu is the chair over that, and then Saili, which is Samoan, I can't remember, something language. And anyways, it's the owner, one of the owners of Sagato runs Saili. So it's our little crew. Like we continue to work. There's Biana started the Tauhiva project. We have Reina
Yes.
who runs the Manava right circle.
I was looking forward to going to the Pohiva this
Oh,
year. I
the
don't even know if
Manava
it's
one?
happening. Yeah.
Oh
Is
yeah,
it
it's
good?
online now. I'll have to send you the
Oh.
link to it so you can join us. It's really cool because it's a good opportunity for people just to check in. It's mostly
Yes. Yeah.
women, but it's such a good space to like check in,
Yeah.
And she does a really good, phenomenal job of like just allowing women to come in and talk about really sensitive issues. And we have our community agreements or our agreements in the circle that we don't share the stuff that we talk about in that circle, which makes it really, it provides for a safe space for a lot of people.
Right. A lot of people.
I'll have to ask her if it's okay, but I'd love it if you joined us.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yes.
Really, really cool.
No.
Yeah.
All of this has just been great. It's been great, and I think I definitely want to talk to you more and more and more and more,
Yeah.
because anything to get the word out is important, right? Anything to mount the troops up is good.
Yeah.
It's, and because as a community, you can't just expect that somebody else is going to take care of you. You need to get up and do the work for yourself too, and then look at who's next to you and help them out. I mean, and in our cultures anyway, that's what we do.
Indeed.
Even if it's annoying, it is still what we do.
Like I said, I absolutely love my people, and they drive me effing crazy all the damn time. I'm like, what? Wait, what?
I know, but still, come over here and help me.
Yeah. What? Anyhow, yeah. So right now, just really focus. I mean, if there's one thing that I could, there's two really big things. It's three. Registering to vote, because we do have a governor's race, a presidential race, and several other races. Number two, making sure that people fill out their census. Absolutely. And then, number three, just keeping safe with the whole COVID-19 that's out there. So those are really big things for our Pacific Islander community to focus on this year. Those three things.
Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Hey, thank you so much for spending time.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it, Pella.
Sweet. Okay, I'll post all the links together with everything.
Sounds good.
And we'll go from there. Thank
you,
you.
Bella.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Okay, take care. Bye.